Welcome to Urban Knife Guy, where we explore the urban knife style and jungle survival. Today we're going to have a look at the CRKT CEO model 7096. First, if you watch this channel regularly but have not subscribed, please do so by hitting the subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. It will really help the channel out. Thanks. The CRKT CEO is best described as a corporate EDC that an executive might carry. It has an extremely low profile and is lightweight. It was designed to be mistaken as a pen in the front pocket. The designer is Richard Rogers from Magdalena, New Mexico. Let's check out the knife. It comes in the standard green CRKT box. Just difference in size depending on the size of the knife. And inside we've got the knife as well as some product information. It's a little brochure, not so much on the CRKT CEO, but really promoting one of the other products, the Parasaur Survival Bracelet. And inside we have the knife in plastic. Let's take that out, clear the box, and have a clearer look at the knife. As you can see, it's got a really slim profile. And in fact, if you think of the ratio, of the size ratio of the clip to the body of the knife, it's actually pretty big. I guess it would look like a pen if you put this in your front jacket or shirt pocket. The scales have this carbon fiber texture look to it, although it's not carbon fiber, but at least from the look point of view. And there's a thumb stud which is recessed, and that flicks out pretty strong. I guess that's because of the very thin blade over here. You can see the name on it, Rogers Design, CEO. Well, before we get into the specs of this knife, let's do some size comparisons. Over here, I've got the Bokeh Plus Kyoto. I've also done a video review on it, so you can check that out in the video link in the card above or the description below. This is the Civivi X Arc. So this is a front flipper. Let's see if we can get that open. So that also has a similar profile to the CEO. This is the Bokeh Plus Quicken Mini Flipper, and that too also has a similar profile but thicker blade. And as always, an Altoids tin. Let's check out the specs of the CRKT CEO. The blade length is 3.11 inches long, the closed length is 4.45 inches long, and the overall length is 7.63 inches. The weight is 2.1 ounces or just under 60 grams, so it is pretty light. The blade style is the straight back blade. There's kind of a swedge over here. The edge is plain and the finish is satin. The blade thickness is 0.09 inches, just above 2 mm. So it's a very slicey blade and it's got such a thin profile. You could also dig into things if you need. It's almost kind of like a letter opener, very lethal letter opener. The blade steel is 8CR13 MOV. Now this is a low-end Chinese-made stainless steel. It's similar to the Japanese AUS 8. It belongs to the CR13 series, high in carbon and chromium. 8CR13 MOV steels have excellent wear resistance, corrosion resistance, edge retention, and high hardness. Due to its lower cost, it's also favored for budget knives, and that's what we have here on the CEO. It's also pretty easy to sharpen as well, but generally this would be considered a low-end steel. But for its purpose and for the task you'd perform with this CEO, honestly, I think this steel is adequate. You don't really need a super steel. The handle is glass reinforced nylon, and as mentioned, it's got that carbon fiber look. So it does look really classy with that stainless steel hardware. It is a liner lock, which means that you can just press it to the side and it would close. And there is a recess for the thumb stud, and also allows you to get to that liner lock easy. The pivot system is IKBS ball bearings, so it is very smooth and it does deploy very smooth and fast, just like that, as you can see. So that's the specs of the CRKT CEO. Now, do you think that this makes for a good urban EDC knife, and more specifically for a corporate executive? So here are my thoughts. Now, in terms of the size and the look, yes, it is very sleek. It could fit into your pocket. It could also go into, a leather pouch or maybe a briefcase, and it could just disappear with your other gear, such as a nice pen. And no one who looks at this might think it's a lethal weapon. You could also pass it off as a letter opener. So even though it looks a bit lethal and a bit pointy, but it could get by as a letter opener. So in terms of that kind of a look, I do see it fitting well for a corporate executive, especially if you personally like the look of the knife itself. For me, while it's small and discreet, I find that the knife is too small in width and in height. Right? It's not just the visual aesthetics, but it's also the handling. Now, I have small to medium hands, so I don't have super large hands. But personally, I find that it's too small to deploy with confidence. See, I find this thumb stud a bit small or a bit shallow. If it protruded out just a bit more, I could get my thumb in. But more importantly, when I hold it for deployment, because it's so small and thin, I can't get a good grip. I need my fingers out of the way from the blade, and the only thing I can really hold is this. See, my middle finger gets the edge of the clip, and then the rest of the fingers kind of just have to press in, but I don't really have a grip. So when I deploy, see, you can see that's exactly a bad example of what will happen. It just rotates and gets out of place. See, even when I deploy that correctly, it shifts in my hand and I have to kind of grip it. So it really turns because of the force of the blade going out, but also because I've got nothing to grip because it's too thin. So for me, this is kind of a deal breaker because I've tried this many times. If I practice it a couple of times in a row, there's no problem. But you see, even with that kind of turned and I end up like that with the knife facing me, which isn't good. Now, if I put this knife down for 5 minutes and I pick it up again, I will have the same adjustment problem and have to get used to it. So it's not that intuitive. Maybe it's the way I naturally hold the knife and grip it. If you have this knife, do let me know if you have that same problem of deployment and having that confident purchase of the knife as you deploy. But if you can figure that out and you can get that to fit, I can see this being a good urban EDC for a corporate executive. Now, it retails for $45 US. Now, it's not cheap for the blade steel that you're paying for, but you are paying for the specific design and what it's for. So I think there's value there. And in fact, this knife did win the Blade Show Best Buy of the Year 2019. So that says something. So if you like this blade shape and the overall design appeals to you, then this would be a good buy, and I think this will also make a good EDC for you. If you, like me, find this hard to deploy and also find it a bit pointy, stabby, and maybe long, I guess long in the sense the blade is very long in relation to the width, then maybe you might give it a pass. But since this is such a popular knife, I thought I did have to do a review. So let me know your thoughts on this particular knife. Do you think it makes for good urban EDC? Do you have some of the problems that I see? Or do you think, it's just fantastic? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like the content in general, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching. As usual, keep it folded, keep it safe.